At She Can, we tell women's stories. We show how women got to where they are today. And I'm really excited to talk to Leah Pellegrini today. Leah, welcome to She Can. You're a personal coach as well as an astrologer, a writer, photographer, and illustrator. You're a writing coach and you're the founder of the Core Stories, which is a collective for writers and other humans with stories to tell. I've met you through a friend, Dr. Jennifer Freed, and we had a session together, which I absolutely loved because you helped me make a bit more sense of my story from an astrology point of view. Leah, so tell us a bit more about yourself and all the things that you do, how they make sense together.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Um, so as you named, I wear a lot of different, do wear a lot of different hats. And to me, they really are all related. I think the one that really sits at the center for me is writer. Like that's the title that I've called myself since I could hold a pencil when I was in elementary school. Um, and everything else has kind of flown from that space. So I am just really interested in creative storytelling. I am really interested in the ways we can access new forms of agency and possibility and just liberation by putting pen to paper. So I have written in a lot of different ways for magazines, freelance, for clients, all kinds of ways over the years. And I got into writing coaching kind of just naturally by virtue of accidentally playing that role for a lot of friends, often being the one kind of encouraging people to sit down and try to do the writing that they said they wanted to do. And then astrology is a huge piece of my practice that I fell into by virtue of my own curiosity. And that to me is also connected because it's so much about like, who are you really? What are you really here to do? What is the story that you're here to kind of play out? And what's the boldest version of that? So all of these things really for me are linked. There's lots of places and ways and modes of working with people that I do. And I guess the other thing I would say is I'm also someone with a big background in organic and regenerative farming. So I'm also very much tethered to the earth as much as I'm in my brain. I'm someone who lives with chronic illness and have for decades at this point. That's a huge piece of my story. I'm a queer woman. I'm, living into a lot of different identities, and all of them are flowers and lighting candles and making pots of soup for people that I love. And I think care is a big piece of it because that fuels kind of everything that I do and creates kind of a softness around it.
Yeah. And it must start with care for yourself, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Leah, so what top tips would you have for people listening who think, wow, this sounds so beautiful? How can anyone lead a more creative life and find that sort of true story that is their story?
Yeah. I mean, I do think astrology is a really useful tool just because it does, like you said, when we chatted, like it reveals a lot about you that is stuff you already know, but it provides so much validation for people around who they already are that it kind of frees up whatever ways we're stopping ourselves from being ourselves. So I think, there are astrologers like me and many others out there who you can work with one-on-one. There are also so many great apps at this point that will tell you even the bits and pieces about your chart. So I would do a little Google search, start to learn a little bit about at least the sun, moon, and rising in your chart, see what information bubbles up, and then do some writing about it. I think journaling in any way, especially if that feels terrifying to you, tends to be really useful. And it's been my practice for years and years and years, and it's still astounding to me what comes up that wouldn't come up otherwise. Pick up a pen.
Yeah, I love that. And I really think that, and I didn't expect anything from our session because I really didn't know what to expect. And it's as if lots of things fell into place. And I'm in my 50s, right? I just didn't expect that. And it gave me an enormous amount of comfort just knowing that. Leah, so what are you most proud of to date?
Oh gosh. Um, there's professional answers that come to mind. Obviously, um I am really proud of the very strange career that I feel like I invented, especially the writing coaching was not something I set out to do. I'm proud of myself for making it up. But I think the other thing that honestly just kind of bubbled up in my mind, so I will share it in case maybe it's useful, is I'm like so proud of so many of the relationships in my life, and especially of my relationship with my sister, who's a couple years younger than me and who I am so close to. And we both have grown and changed so much over the years and allowed that in each other, and also just like loved each other really well along the way. So honestly, that's what comes up is like I'm really proud of that kind of care and longevity and the choice to love people in a world that is sometimes very dark.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I feel so aligned with that. Leah, so what role models did you have or do you have that inspire you and motivate you and sort of mentor you on your journey?
Oh gosh, I mean, I named grandparents at the beginning. Those were so huge for me. Um, in ways that I didn't even have language for at the time when I was really little. I think at this point, I mean, it changes all the time. Jennifer Freed, who you mentioned, obviously was a huge piece of my astrology journey. I would not be seeing people one-on-one if it weren't for her and her support. Um, I have a lot of role models who are in the farming world who have, in their own way, kind of like set out to do a really hard thing that goes against the culture of how we typically grow food and are like making it happen and consistently learning. I'll just name Myrtle Glen Farm, which is a farm in Oregon that I've spent a lot of time at. And I'm just so inspired by the couple that runs that place. And then so many writers. I mean, I'm almost like overwhelmed with the number of names I could name because it's really a long list. But one of the earliest ones for me was Sandra Cisneros, who's The House on Mango Street. I don't know if you know that book, but that was one of the first ones when I was little that really opened me up to like, wow, you're allowed to write. I didn't know you could write like that. And I've seen her speak a few times and kind of shared that with her. So yeah, gosh, there's a long list of names, but that's a few.
That's already amazing. Leah, so what plans or dreams or goals do you have for the next couple of years?
Next couple of years. So I am, knock on wood, hoping to start a grad program for a master's in fine arts and creative writing in the fall. We'll see if that pans out, but that's something I've been kind of building towards for a really long time. So I am very tentatively, but hopefully excited to spend the next few years like really digging deep into my craft in that way that I haven't been able to fully focus on. And have a book project that has begun that I am hoping to complete at least more or less in the next few years. And that is very much oriented around some of the themes that we've talked about, that does have to do with sort of what are the myths that we are taught by culture, and what are truer stories that we can tell, and what does writing have to do with that. So that's the dream.
That's very exciting, Leah. I can't wait to follow more, read that, and be connected to you. Thank you so much for telling your story today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.